Show. It is Monday, November 15th, 2021. We're halfway through the month. We're most of the way through the year, just like that. I'm joined once again with Kyle Klingman, who's back from the dead. Kyle, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm getting better, man. I feel so bad because Frank Popolizio is one of my favorite human beings on planet Earth, and I was supposed to go to the Journeyman Fall Classic in Spooky Nook, and I could not make the trip. I just physically could not get on an airplane. I was so sick. All I could do was lay around. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm getting there. But glad to be on the Bader Show, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, you still sound like shit, so. But you look great.
Oh, I love it.
Did you get tested for the Rona? Was it that kind of sick?
I did. I did a home test, and it showed up negative.
Okay. Did you ever get it?
So I have to say yes. I didn't ever get a test, but when they canceled the NCAA championships in 2020, I was relieved because I had a stretch of about 3 weeks where all those symptoms like shortness of breath, I could barely walk up the stairs. I had all of that, and there was actually a couple times I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to wake up the next day. I mean, seriously, it was bad. So, and then what's funny is that night that I thought, hey, I don't know if I'm going to wake up the next day, I actually made a turn for the better, and here I am.
All right. That was before like testing was readily available, huh? Or people were even really doing
Yeah,
it.
it was. Yeah, I didn't. There was really no testing at that point. You just had to guess. But I was scheduled to go to the D3s in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, not Cedar Falls,
Yeah.
and I held off going down there until I absolutely had to, and then they canceled because I wasn't feeling good, and then they canceled the D1s, of course, too. So now we have vaccines and all kinds of stuff, and we get to do a lot of things virtually too.
Yeah, and like this is it. We're back to a full college wrestling season. Things kind of just kicked off, but we're talking top 100 today. Second episode came out. Plenty of NCAA results factor into that, but plenty of non-NCAA results, really world and Olympic games medals and whatnot. I mean, we started. We started with 90. So Jake Herbert's the first. Jake Herbert, like Hodge Trophy winner. What was he? Third, second, first, I think, in his NCAA career. Pretty
Yeah,
remarkable.
3-2-1-1.
Yeah,
Had
and a silver medalist.
tough competition too. Had Askren in the finals one year, beat Jake Varner in the finals one year. So you're talking about during that era, he was a transcendent figure and really one that a lot of people pointed to watch all the time because you knew he was going to bring something exciting. So Jake Herbert certainly deserving to be on this list. And
Left hand
the
single
thing
out
I
the back
remember,
door. Go ahead.
oh yeah, and no, I just two things that strike me when I think of Jake Herbert is number one, he loved college so much, just didn't want to leave. Took redshirt years, and then number two, I just remember his comment after he got silver medal in 2009 after his senior year of college is he was so jealous. He's like, they give belts to world champions, and he said, I didn't know they gave belts, and he was so mad that he didn't win it because he wanted that belt. Never happened, but I just remember him really wanting a world championship belt.
Sure. And so the next three it's kind of an interesting pick, and you could put them a little higher, you could have put them a little lower. This is just kind of where we landed, right? But we call this Pinner's Row. So these guys don't really have I mean, they've wrestled on the world stage, but like the medals that some people below them have. But like we've said, there's this transcendent quality, and like the goal of wrestling is the pin, right? And these guys pinned as well as anyone, really. We got Wade Chalice, Ben Askren, Gene Mills going 89, 88, 87. Mills and Askren both on Olympic teams. Wade Chalice, more pins, right? 106 pins or something like that in his career.
Yeah, 106 pins, and I think Gene Mills claims he has 107, but I don't know that I've ever seen that
Okay.
verified. So it's such an interesting twist because those guys were the pinners of an era. So Wade Chalice was the pinner of the 70s, 80s was Gene Mills, and then of course Ben Askren during that 2000s era. But gosh, they were fun to watch. I mean, I haven't seen as much footage on Mills and Chalice. I've seen some of their matches, but I mean, I was deliberate in watching Ben Askren compete. Like I drove down to Missouri to watch a dual meet just because I had to see this guy as much as possible because he is that entertaining. And boy, you talk about transcendent qualities. All three of those guys have them. And I have no doubt that Gene Mills was going to win the Olympics in '80, and he would have skyrocketed up the list. But you have to feel good knowing you're on the top 100 regardless.
Yeah. Who made their claim first? Chalice or Mills? Like the 106 or 107?
I was, of course, Chalice because he was before.
Okay.
And I think
sure.
that's verifiable. I would like to see what the pin count
Is
is
it verifiable?
for Mills. Hey,
You think all 106 or 107 of either of those guys? I'm not saying they're lying or it's made up. I'm just like questioning whether or not you can verify it.
I think you can. I think you'd have to go back and take very meticulous, detailed blow by blow. But here's the funny thing, and it doesn't really tabulate into what we've done, but there are different rules during different eras. Like, for example, what counts as a win, what counts as a loss during different eras. So Cale Sanderson is 159-0 in college. He has more wins than that. He had a win over Lee Fullhart in the 2001 Midlands, but that does not count on his official record. So there's just moments like that, little things. So it would be hard to know what you count, what you don't count on a college wrestler's record.
Okay, so or you think we're missing stuff?
Oh, no, not at all. I'm just saying that, excuse me, there are times where college records may look a little bit different because they may have counted something one way, whereas rules dictated later that you don't count it that way, is all I'm saying.
Okay. And this is one, Bobby Douglas, we went back and forth. Could he be higher? He certainly could be. Never did win an NCAA title. So that,
I know, and
it's a strike, but he
should have. Boy, if you ever see that match against Mickey Martin from Oklahoma in the 1963 finals, it's a classic. I mean, they just go back and forth. It's a absolute slugfest. So if you're talking about all-time classic finals matches, that's one of them. But he was the guy to win it in 1965. He was the number one seed. He was with Iowa State, and he got dinged in the head, got concussed against a guy named Dan DeVito from Edwardsville, and could not continue.
Dan DeVito, like Danny.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just funny. Go
ahead. Pop up. Yeah, but just couldn't continue, and Oklahoma State was favored to win the tournament that year, and they lost by a point to Iowa State. And Bobby Douglas's points that they had probably planned on to place first did not tabulate into that because he was out of the tournament. So I know he used that as motivation with his athletes later in his career when he was at Iowa State. But boy, that's the thing. That's the thing I keep coming back to. Talking with Mike Malanconico about this is like historical greatness is based on these little moments that put you one place up or down. And for Bobby Douglas, unfortunately, that was one of those situations where if he did have an NCAA title, you got to think he's going to be higher on the list.
Sure. We got a pair of Greco guys. Brandon Paulson at 65. Joe Warren at, 85. My eyes, boy. I need some help here. I'm going to need some glasses. Paulson's at 85. Joe Warren at 83. Joe Warren with that world gold in 2006.
My question for you.
Yeah,
2006. Were you at the Dennis Hall, Brandon Paulson 3-match slugfest in 2004? You weren't there.
First Olympic trials I went to was 2008.
Okay. Had you heard about it?
I mean, I had heard about it. I didn't really know the extent to what it was until we started doing this project, and then I heard more about it, so I watched it, and I was like, whoa, this took a little longer to watch than I had anticipated. Did they? So wait. Yeah. So story goes, and you said it in the film, or in the episode. Said he split the first two matches. Match 3, going to overtime. They just decide to turn the clock off? They just changed the procedure in the middle of it and just said, or
Yeah,
what?
I mean,
Or was that an option?
that's my understanding is, they just had a continuous clock and they'd put 5 minutes up there. I remember that was the big thing. Like, wow, they're just letting this thing go, try to decide it. And so they changed the procedure on the spot and they just kept putting 5 minutes up, 5 minutes up, 5 minutes up. And then I just watched it in advance of this show just to kind of get reacclimated with it. And then Hall explodes through for a takedown and gets it and has this wild, wild celebration, runs into the stands, almost trips and gets injured. And then if he does get injured, maybe Paulson makes the team and goes in his place. But I mean, these are just the iconic moments that make the sport great. And it was fun to relive that because I was there for it. And I just remember the buzz of them switching that clock out and just going 5 minutes and then just it would end and then another 5 minutes. And it kept going forever. And I think with that, it wasn't as much that you didn't have these entertaining scrambles. You kind of had to be in the moment and just be like, wow, what is going on here? These two absolute warriors putting it all out there and only one can win. And it happened to be Hall.
In 04, was it the rules where you had to have 3 points to end the match? Some guy had to have 3 points, or was it just who had more points? Do you remember?
That's a good question. I think that might have still been the 3-point must system.
Because I know Rulon, that was the case with Rulon in 2000, right, against Karelin. I think it was 1-0 or something.
But I think that one was tied 2-2 going into those sudden victory periods or the sudden death. So yeah, that was wild to see, man. That's do yourself a favor. At least just know that historically, that's a great match to go back and watch. And one of the fun things for me has been going back, and I've just really gone back and watched a lot of these historical moments that have made or kind of taken someone down a notch on this list. Just those matches that make you great and put you on this list.
Do you know how long that match was? Roughly, was it about 30 minutes?
I think it was under that. I want to say it was in the mid-20s.
Okay,
that was my recollection. 23 minutes, something like that.
That's very long.
Of actual wrestle time, not the. Yeah, it's crazy.
Nick Gwiazdowski, another guy who I think if he had one more win, and this could be in a couple places, but really I'm thinking Kyle Snyder. You know, if he wins that Kyle Snyder match, he's a 3-time NCAA champion. He's still a 2-time world medalist and has a win over the defending. Was he Olympic champion at that point, or just the world champ?
World champ.
And then he won the Olympics that next summer because that was 2016 in Madison Square Garden. And what an epic match that was! What an epic match! That heavyweight final. They started at 25 that day for the finals and ran it all the way up, and fantastic.
But look at, I mean, you're talking about a guy again that was in maybe, as I'm talking it through here, maybe the biggest finals matches for heavyweight in NCAA tournament history. Because you got first one he wins, he beats Tony Nelson, who was going to be a 3-timer, the first in Minnesota history. His second title he wins over Adam Kuhn, who ends up being a World Greco silver medalist. And then he goes against the reigning world champion and Kyle Snyder, who a lot of people thought that Gwiazdowski was going to win that match. I would say more people thought he was going to win than Kyle Snyder from the people I talked to, and then ends up getting second in a masterpiece of a match. So you're talking about 3 guys in the finals that that aren't guarantees by any means that you're going to come away with that win, and he has 2 titles. So boy, Gwiz is tough, man, and then gets 2 world bronze and has made every world team save the Olympic team in 2021 here. But boy, he's been a staple of the U.S. team for sure.
And he's not done, right? He lost to, I'm not probably saying anything anybody doesn't know, but he lost to Gable for the Olympic spot. Gable seemingly retired from freestyle wrestling. I guess he hasn't actually said that, but says this is his final year of folk style college wrestling, and he's going to head on to the WWE. I think one would imagine he's not going to try to do both. He'll just entertainment wrestle instead of freestyle wrestle, which opens the door back up for Gwiz. You know, he's still got plenty of years to go if he so chooses, I would think. Yeah. So dude could tack more medals on, and maybe we do this. Maybe we do this again in 5 years or 10 years. Depending on how much
Yeah,
it changes. Could be interesting
yeah,
because these current wrestlers will slide up. Hardly anything can slide down.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's maybe talk through what it looks like for Gwiz in the next Olympic quad. You have some guys coming through there that are going to contend with him, and man, what does that look like for him? I still think he can make the team. I still think that he's the top dog right now, and I don't. I think as long as he wants to keep going, he can make world teams.
Yeah, totally agree. And then final two to talk about classes forthcoming 84 and 81. Sarah McMahon and Jakar Winchester. Sarah, one of the, '04 was the first time women's wrestling was allowed, was introduced to the Olympics. She comes home with a silver medal, lost to Kaori Icho, right? And in a really close match. And I believe she wrestled Icho. I was looking through her stats the other day. 3 or 4 or 5, I think 3 or 4 times. I think maybe it was 4, and I think 3 times she lost by a point, and once she lost by a wider margin. But Icho, what, four-time Olympic champ, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she was leading in that '04 match, and
Yeah,
man, it's just again that's the fascinating part of this is just one moment it's just that minute on where you get placed on this list that if she wins that it's our first Olympic gold medalist. It's not Helen Maroulis, and we're having a different narrative. Who knows what that sets up for
yeah,
girls in the future. So I mean just so many little details, and it's just so fun to think about those moments and how you make this list. I just the more we dive into it, when we went through the process, it's just your head hurts because you care about the people on the list. You want to get it right. I mean, I know we both felt that way, and when you
yeah,
bring other people into the fold, and they have just fantastic commentary on, hey, did you think of this, and where we put different people, but we want to get this right, and it's never a slight on anyone, but I'd say Sarah McMahon certainly was in that pioneering era of, hey, she was the highest medal finish at the Olympic Games for an American woman, and that says something. She really did break new ground, and she's going into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I think she and Clarissa Chun are now the third and fourth women to go into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame as distinguished members. So, congrats to both.
yeah. That's awesome. And we close it out with number 81, Jakarta Winchester, right? I think she made a world team and didn't medal. I think the next year she made a medal match and lost, and then she wins, breaks through and wins a world title in 28, 19, right?
19. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and
2019.
she's somebody who probably, I'm not gonna say she grew up watching Sarah McMahon because I don't even think she was into wrestling at the time Sarah was competing, but probably once she got into the sport and realized who some of the greats were, I'm sure she got familiar with that Sarah McMahon name, and now she's part of this team and this group of girls, group of women who are just like taking it to another level and really starting to light the world on fire.
Yeah, I know. And boy, what I think that you think of just that 2019 grouping of who won world championships, that you have Adeline Gray, Tamira Mensah-Stock, and Jakar Winchester. That was the most world gold medals for a women's wrestling team at the world championships. So you just keep seeing women make history all the time. And Jakar is entertaining. She's just fun to watch. And again, you just think about wrestlers you just want to keep going on as long as possible, whether it's Burroughs, Tamira Mensah-Stock, whoever. Jakar is one of those. I hope she goes as long as possible because she really is an entertaining wrestler, and I hope she has at least another quad in her.
And she's entertaining on and off the mat, right? She brings this big, fun personality to events. To anytime we were working with her, Final X was a good example, right? She like played into the press conference and just kind of being outgoing, and you can be outspoken without being a jerk, right? It doesn't have to be negative talk about your opponent, but she was outspoken. And and she's another one, a lot of tread on the tires, and she could go for quite a while.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying there, as we kind of started out with Jake Herbert talking about him wanting a belt. Jakara has a belt, and she loves that she has a belt. And I love when people embrace that and are proud of having that belt, because that's so cool. I love that UWW does that. I love that they give out a belt in addition to the medal, because I think the belt really shows, hey, you were the world champion at that weight class. So I know that that was a big deal for her to get the belt and then to have her picture on the wall at the Olympic Training Center. So she has both, and you just can't take that away. That is verifiable history that when you're on that world championship wall, world or Olympic championship wall, there's under 80 people that have earned a spot on that wall at the Olympic Training Center. That is elite company, and she certainly deserves it.
Yeah. I think, we're looking ahead without giving. Do you have the list in front of you, Kyle?
I don't.
I shared this with you. I guess I could just talk some of the eras. There's 90s, there's, late 60s, there's earlier than that, there's earlier than that. There's a current athlete on this list. So from 50s through today, basically every era, or once every decade or so, has some representation on this list. So, and all three styles, I think, are yep, for sure, are represented on the next list.
The hard part in talking about this is, I know we're going to have a show after everything is released, but I think it's going to be so important to dive into the process a little bit more, talk through why certain wrestlers were left off the list, and some of the decisions about why certain wrestlers were placed where they were. So it's hard to disclose too much, because there's some wrestlers that I certainly wanted to see on the list, but you have 100, so you're gonna leave people off the list. And I think one of the things that we both agreed is that World Championship Olympic success was paramount to where you end up on this list. Not always, but
not always. We just talked about Pinners Row.
Yeah,
you do have a
not
little
always,
bit
but
up Olympians.
I think that's really. I think you'll see a theme there, though, that hey, to have world Olympic accolades, really, to be at that top level, and it makes sense. So, Mark, when you think about it, you evaluate the NBA at the highest level, you evaluate NFL at the highest level, or football. You kind of have to do that with wrestling too, even though we have a folk style system, we have a Greco freestyle system, and they are different. So it's not apples to apples, but you do have to evaluate just a little bit different. Like, hey, who did you beat at the highest level?
Yeah. You brought up the NBA. They just did like a top 75, right?
They did.
Yeah, was that is it just a list? I just know that they've done it. Was it just a list? Was it a thing like ours? I know other organizations have done.
Yeah, it was just a list of 75. They didn't rank them in any order. They just.
Oh, they didn't rank them even?
No. Just the 75
Come on, weak sauce.
I mean, there's actually 76. Yeah, I know it is. They actually put 76 as one tied, so they had actually the 76 greatest, but they're calling it the 75 because there's one tie in there.
Oh, they call them the 76ers. Is
it taken?
Is it taken already? I think it's taken.
Yeah.
All right. Anything you want to tease about next episode?
I do. Number 80 should be higher on the list, not because of anything we did, but because of politics is what I'll say. Number 80. And okay. I hate it when politics gets in the way of what you deserve. And we've seen that happen too often. And you have, through your Flow films, you're the guy there for that. You've documented some of this. So bad things happen when politics get involved. That's all I'll say.
All right, Kyle. Anything else on this Monday morning?
I'll tell you, it's fun to look back at this and really kind of, once you get through the process and we actually have the list created. I don't know. I'd be interested to learn from you what kind of feedback you're getting from anyone. I've tried to stay off social media to stay away from the comments, but I don't know if you're seeing anything, if there's a lot of arguments or not, but
A little
I'm
bit.
still
Not,
proud.
there's not, there's actually less disagreeing or pissed offedness, if that's a term, than I would have thought. So take that for what it's worth. Last thing is, I don't know, that they're top 100 aside, FloWrestling aside. That, and I mentioned it last week, they're doing a reality show here. The Flow Grappling is doing a reality show. I was out of town over the weekend, basically since they started, and I heard it's going phenomenal. So that's the update there. That's all I know. They got a lot of work ahead of themselves still. Another week of shooting, but sounds like it's going really well. And I would love to, as they do this, they're going to figure it out and wait for we could rinse and repeat. Do on here. It'd be great.
I'll tell you what, you would be great on a reality show.
I would be behind the scenes, I think.
You would be awesome. I would love to see you on a reality show chasing down people for money and whatever it is, man. You'd be fantastic. Imagine you and Malin Conoco on a reality show. I mean, it's just start with those two, and it's just going to get better from there.
I did tail a guy that owes me some money. I won't tell this whole story, but I found somebody's address and followed him yesterday. We'll get into the rest of that sometime if you want.
I mean, that's great TV because it's real. That's not staged.
No, that definitely wasn't staged.
That's real stuff. So let's get that rolling.
Yeah.
Let's get that rolling.
All right. Next time I'll take some selfie videos and post them on my Instagram story.
All right. Please do.
All right. Cool. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. We got Brandon Paulson joining us tomorrow. What number did I say Brandon was? 85.
Yep.
So looking forward to that. We'll talk to him all about that 04 battle and, Dennis Hall and a bunch of other stuff. His career at Minnesota, his Greco
Watch
career.
The match, yeah.
Pinnacle.
Yep.
Yeah, check it out. It's on YouTube. All right, that today, Junior. That's gonna do it for Kyle Klingman. I'm Mark Beta. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you later.